good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to the Tflip show, and this program starts now. All right, Mr. Alex Lucero. How you doing, man?
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm grateful you're here. I mean, it's a heck of an opportunity. So take a moment. I got a good idea who you are. For the people that don't, though, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are and what you do.
I'm Alex Lucero, originally from Oakdale, California, now based in Santa Cruz, California. Full-time musician. I play anywhere from 5 to 8 nights a week. And times, I guess, but I've been a full-time musician for 8 years, almost 9 years in December, and in the Santa Cruz area, just having a wonderful time. I do a lot of solo shows. I have a 6 to 7 piece all original band as well that I use. We just got back on from our European East Coast tour. We went to Ireland, went to the UK, went to Boston, New York. Boston, did a couple of headlining festivals over there, and promoting our most recent album in Nashville. It's called Same Moon. It's releasing mid-November, so we're really stoked about that.
That's exciting stuff. Yeah. How many song album is that looking to be?
I think it's 10.
10?
Yeah.
And how does that process work? Is it already recorded? We have all 10 kind of lined up, or is it something that constantly builds leading up to the release date?
Well, we recorded 6 of them in Nashville at the studio. We recorded it. It's called The Studio Nashville. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Wood Brothers or the Avett Brothers. It's their studio. Their producer, Brooke Sutton, produced the album for us. So we got 6 albums from the studio over there, 4 that I recorded at home, and I sent all 10 tracks to Brooke, and he is working on them currently.
Got it.
So 4 of the tracks have been recorded previously in the last few months at my studio, and then we recorded the other 6 in a matter of 3 days in the studio in Nashville, and that was back in June.
That's a grind and a half, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was awesome, but yeah, it's really, really cool.
So how'd you end up traveling? Because I want to go back. I have a number of questions off that, but you went to Ireland and all the way out and about. Like, what was that like? How'd you lead up to that?
I knew that we needed to push. We kind of have this, I mean, not in the least boastful way possible, we kind of have the Santa Cruz area on lock as far as people.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Through social media and everything.
Yeah. Knowing our originals, singing our originals and stuff. And I knew that the next step would be to get them out. And so, weirdly enough, I have a lot of ties to Ireland and to Boston and New York. And just from friends, musical adventures. I got married in Ireland last year.
Oh man, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so we've been out there 6 or 7 times, always with a guitar. Met some wonderful people that are friends of friends that own venues that run festivals and stuff. And so it was kind of like low-hanging fruit, but in a really, really cool way.
Yeah.
The other option would have been to go on the East Coast and come back and do Southern California. I think that's the next one for us. But it was really, really cool. Probably the best thing was to see people I had no idea who they were. I think it was over 6,000 miles away from home singing our original music.
That's so neat.
That was something that I never thought would happen, but really it was nothing but a success.
You got
for sure.
Instant feedback off of it.
Yeah.
Like right away. And
yeah.
So how about the people that were more or less introduced to you for the first time there too? Is it the same thing after the show? Did you get to interact with people? Kind of think about experience I had at Theo Le Chant.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure we'll get on.
Yeah.
Same thing?
Yeah. It was just nothing but Irish are very musical. And they're very relatable in the sense that they're just all about the music. They're all about, they have a stigma of like, in the bar and being like the drunk Irish. I wouldn't even say that. It's more of a culture over there. It's more of they take their kids to the pub. They go and they have food and dinner and they have a couple pints of beer. And so whenever we did these little shows, we had families that were listening. And that was really, really cool for me to be able to not just connect with people individually, but like, hey, this is my kid and my mom that lives with us. So it was like 3 generations coming to see us at some of the smaller stuff we did. Some of the ticketed shows, we had 2 types of, it was the first time that we ever traveled with swag. And so I had to like, that was interesting. Just like,
break that down a little. What do you mean by travel by swag? Let's look into that.
We traveled with swag. We did we had I'm pretty sure over 300 T-shirts that we traveled with in carry-ons.
Oh, okay.
And CDs and our whole entire recording rig.
Wow.
And so I think that I checked 2 bags. I had a carry-on. I had a backpack. I had my guitar. My lead guitarist took apart his guitar and had his neck sticking out of his backpack and stuff. So we were like all-inclusive. Everything that was on us, we had with us. And I have a board that records multi-track. And I wasn't about to go to Ireland and do 14 or 15 shows without recording every single one of them. So now we have, I think that three of the gigs were backlined and had a full PA with a house sound guy at huge venues in Dublin. But the other ones I was able to either patch in or do my own sound, and so now we have I think 12 or 13 complete 1.5 to 3 hour shows that I can choose from and release a live album later on this year.
Endless amounts of content. It sounds
exactly,
like.
yeah.
So
and
cool.
I'm always thinking about content and stuff. But
yeah, I fully relate there.
Yeah,
You're in a whole nother realm than I am, so I can
yeah.
only imagine.
Yeah.
So from that journey from Dublin, because that was one full tour, right? You were talking about Ireland and everything on the East Coast. Are you already lined up looking at another tour, like kind of getting set up?
Oh, yeah.
How long is the rest time in between is what I'm getting at?
Well, it's tough for somebody like me. I do all my own booking, all my own, schedule management. So I am scheduled out almost 4 days a week until the end of this year.
Wow.
And so it's like I'm on a constant tour. I think last year I did 323 shows in a 365 day year.
When do you sleep?
Yeah. Well, during the day. But,
no kidding.
But no, I'm headed for that too. I'm probably gonna surpass that this year. It's just been a grind, just trying to play shows all around, taking any opportunity, and making a living at the same time, which is can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But as far as the next tour, I would hope for something in late November because it'll be post Nashville CD release or Nashville album release.
Yeah.
It won't be as long. We were on tour for almost a month in Europe and East Coast. I'm thinking probably maybe a 2-week thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe more locally based, maybe go up to, Portland, Chico, maybe just have it like a West Coast tour. So it's more feasible. We can be in my band van and just kind of live out of that and have it be more feasible, but still reaching other people that don't, even though we live in the Bay Area, it's huge. I mean, if you go an hour north to Chico, they have no idea who people are, mm-hmm. And so California and the West Coast, we're so blessed to have such an eclectic, little pockets and stuff. So even do a show in San Francisco, just kind of line them up. And I already have a couple down south and a couple up north already lined up for like the weekend before Thanksgiving. Okay. So I'm kind of shooting for the mid-November to be the next tour for a couple weeks.
That's awesome. So what does that booking process look like? Because you do all your own work. How do those people find you is what I'm asking you. Is it you reaching out to them? A little bit of both?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
For the gigs that I pay the bills, when I'm just living in Santa Cruz and just playing from home, as far as going back home every single night and playing in California, I've gotten to the point where I've pounded the pavement enough that people just reach out to me, which is awesome. But it's definitely to my own discretion to reach out to other people. I just did it this morning. The dogs woke me up at like 5:30, so I woke up at 6 and didn't want to go back to bed, so I reached out to some people up in Chico, and Mariposa actually has a couple really cool music venues. But yeah, as far as different places to play outside of the area that I'm already kind of saturated in, mm-hmm. it's a lot of my own work and own pounding of pavements.
Right.
But was interesting enough that the New York, we headlined the Sag Harbor American Music Festival. That was the second to last show we played on our tour just now in September. And they reached out to us. I just got a random email saying, hey, we came across your guys' stuff online. We'd love it if you guys came. And then I said, well, we're from California. Do you know that? Oh, we didn't realize you're from California. Well, why don't we offer you a headlining slot and make it worth your while and stuff? So
wow,
that was a really cool.
That's so sick.
Yeah, really. And so however that happened, a friend of a friend or a share on Facebook and social media,
Huge.
Yeah.
You got to have it.
Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes it's the best thing in the world, So,
absolutely.
yeah,
I know. It's
yeah.
one of those things. I will have to say on that note, when you're talking about your social media presence is fantastic. I love all the stuff you're posting.
Thank you.
Your tour, your upcoming music.
Yeah.
It's great, you know, and I think that's what got me so hooked in beyond seeing you, as I've touched on already a little bit, is at Lola Chance.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about shifting gears a little bit, but I think what makes you so unique, I think is so cool, is your style. It's very different. So I, as I've said, saw you at the Tyler Braden show.
Yeah.
And I would say, Tyler is the closest thing as you'll get to, I guess, country, and I wouldn't quite put you in that category, right?
No,
I think you're so unique. You have this
Yeah.
really cool sound. Would you put a label on it where you would line it up as far as a genre or style?
The first people that kind of labeled this, and I like it, was my buddies, the Expendables from Santa Cruz, reggae band. They said that I have a soul Americana feel. And I would say somewhere within, this is probably like, sounding a certain way, but I would say more like a Chris Stapleton kind of a thing, as much as he gets labeled country, he's like the farthest thing from modern country. He's a soul singer with a beard and a cowboy hat playing chords on an acoustic guitar, and just like the most soulful dude in the world. So my biggest influences growing up and still is Motown, Al Green, Marvin Gaye. And so I always have that soul when I'm writing a song. And not that it's a conscious thing, but it just comes across whenever I sing. And then I have a tendency to write more Americana country style accompaniment along with, with that. So soul Americana somewhere in there. Nathaniel Ratliff, Chris Stapleton somewhere in there. But, then I have a lot of, like our drummer's a big reggae funk guy. My lead guitarist is like a jazz fusion. He played on records with ELO back in the 80s. So he has and he's from the UK, so he has like a British jazz fusion. So we kind of get together and we have this big fusion of things. But somewhere within soul Americana, we live somewhere in there, I would say.
Well, I love that. You're not even giving, you put a generalization on it of soul Americana, but even then, I love how wide open it really is, because you're not set to one sound or tone or whatever it may be. Yeah. And it sets you apart.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I notice, and that makes it so neat.
Thanks so much.
Of course. What is the creative process, right? Because you've written all your own songs at this point.
Yeah.
As any musician, it always blows my mind of like, where do you start? Do you start at the music, the sound? Do you start with the lyrics? Where does that even start?
Every one is different. Every song is different.
Yeah.
And have you ever heard of Ray LaMontagne?
I'm familiar. I can't say I know.
He's kind of in that same soul Americana folk kind of a vibe. I just went and saw him last Thursday, and he kind of went on a little tangent about this at his concert. And it's just like, some songs present themselves to you, and some songs you got to go searching for. And I really liked how he put that. And I would say most times I'll be doing something throughout the day, and I'll get an idea inspired by something. It could be anything, something I'm listening to, or something I've been thinking about, just all the intrusive thoughts that come into your head. I'll get an idea, and instead of just like kind of whisking them away and going throughout my business, I'll grab a guitar, or I'll get out my voice memo, and I got so many 5-second whistles that I'll go home and, okay, all right, I think this is the key of this and this. And sometimes I'll sit and I'll write the entire lyrics like a poem almost, and then I'll get home and I'll have to put music to it. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'll write the music and I'll have to put lyrics to that. Every single one is different. And the coolest ones to me are the ones that just like come to you just in 5 minutes. You can just, it almost like the song is in the air, and then it just like finds you, and you just write it down and you can hear it. But the other ones are, sitting around at the card table with my wife, me and her get creative a lot, and she's a very, very good sounding board to, that is a little sappy, or that's kind of, you should raise it up a key to have your voice be more show. It's good to have somebody like that, but every single one's different. Mm-hmm. I wish I could answer it better, but every single song that I've written is completely different. A lot of songs have been, from, some type of trauma. We just had my aunt pass away a few years ago, and I had a whole chronicle of songs that I wrote in that realm. And then during COVID, I was like, what is going on for the first month, like we all were. And so I wrote a bunch of songs like what's happening, what's important, Mm-hmm. And I have a common theme in the songs. It's that I always try to be conscious of, so I'm not sounding redundant in my lyrics. Mm-hmm. But it's like all about time for me. I kind of am a big supporter of using whatever time you have to do something good and not be a pompous jerk to everybody,
Yeah.
Regardless of if you're Chris Stapleton or whoever you may be, or you're just a regular plain Jane dude that's whoever, just being a really nice person and practicing that and stuff. So that's something that I always kind of revert back to, kind of doing the right thing and stuff, as sappy as that may sound. So that kind of helps me. But
I don't think it's at all sappy. It makes a lot of sense because, again, for someone like me, I have no idea where to even begin. And the musician's brain has always fascinated me of how do you, because, your stuff is creative, and I'm still learning about a lot of your music as we go here. But, again, the process fascinates me, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Is there a certain headspace you find yourself in creating a better process? Is it like you said, the ones that just naturally come to you, just sitting there zoning out and all of a sudden, boom? Or sometimes when you got to put something together, you sit down in a quiet place and take that book out. Is there a process that finds you?
I feel like I'm the most productive when I have just been in go mode for a long time and I have some time to decompress and not think about anything. Mm-hmm. And usually what that means for me is not think about anything, means thinking about everything.
Yeah.
Your idle mind and all that, just kind of, ideas come out. Pot always helps me loosen up.
Yeah. A lot of folks.
Yeah. And, smoking a joint and having a cup of coffee at the card table with my wife. I think that has been, the card table might be insignificant, but I was able to get my family owned this is total sidebar.
I love it. But go for it.
My family my mom's side of the family owned a cabin in Bass Lake up by Yosemite since like the 70s.
Yeah.
And they bought the cabin with like one piece of furniture, and it was this card table that looks like something from like Game of Thrones, with little pieces of old gnarly wood and these red leather back chairs. And so they were going to sell it, and the family was kind of falling apart when money things, her dad passed away, and money is the kind of the root of all evil sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so she was just like, well, it's, this is my cabin, so why don't you and your sister take something that you want? I took the card table, and it was something that from a little kid I was playing puzzles on and like having breakfast with my parents and my grandpa, and now it's in my house. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's something like really, really comfortable about sitting in those chairs and being at that table and smoking a joint and having a cup of coffee. That is like, if I were to say the most productive that I've ever been, is probably in that state.
I love the sentimental meeting to that card table and full circle from your childhood all the way to, where you're at right now in your musical journey with your wife.
Yeah.
You've mentioned your wife a few times. She's a part of the band, right? Where she was on tour with you and you guys performed together, right?
Yeah, she's the bass player on some of the really, really good songs we have going on right now. Before I met her, she played bass, she played acoustic guitar, and she has a beautiful voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that I was so, she didn't take offense to it, and I didn't mean anything bad by it, but I think that just because I was the full-time musician boyfriend for a long time, she just kind of took a back seat and didn't really even pick up a guitar. And then we started to do it just maybe 3 years ago or something during COVID. And she started to get back into it. She plays mandolin. She does all kinds of stuff. And so we were going on this tour, And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to, because we paid our own way. We got sponsors for the tour, but, everything was definitely coming out of our own pocket to float this tour. And I'm just like, I'm not going to pay for another bass player. You can do this in your sleep. It's real, easy stuff. Just needs to be solid. And so we rehearsed for 2 or 3 months prior, and she went on tour with us and just killed it, and is probably going to be we have a weird lineup in the band. The core band is a trio, and I normally play bass, sing, and then our lead guitarist, he sings, and then our drummer, and that's the core of the band. And with that, me and my lead guitarist switch. I play guitar, and he plays bass. He's a phenomenal bass player as well. But there's songs where I play acoustic, and I want the really nice, shimmery electric guitar that I can't do on acoustic. So there's about 5 or 6 songs in the set that will totally change everything, and she'll be featured on the bass. So it's really cool to
so neat.
Be able to all switch and stuff.
How involved she's become.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How'd you guys meet? How to get to that point where I assume you guys met in a casual sense and slowly got integrated in?
Yeah, I was playing around. We're from a town. I mean, it's from Oakdale. For those people that know Oakdale, it used to be about 15,000 people. Maybe it's like 20,000 now. Super small town. Everybody knows everybody. And they're transplants actually from Santa Cruz area, from like Watsonville. And they moved there when she was in elementary school. And I lived there my whole life. And so I was playing around town. I played a couple fundraisers like cancer benefits and stuff that her parents knew the person that had cancer, and so they would come and see me. And so I remember seeing this really, really beautiful girl in the crowd with her parents and stuff. And then I was playing. I played baseball in Mexican American League baseball out of Stockton for a few years, and so we'd go as a team. We'd go have breakfast and then head to Stockton, all in like 2 cars. And she worked at the cafe where we had breakfast. And then she was graduating, I don't know where from, but her parents hired me for her graduation party, and that's what kind of solidified it.
There it is.
I was just like, okay, we need to go and we need to make something out of this. And
you had to have been nervous.
I was nervous, but I was also, didn't have anything to lose.
There you go. Yeah, I like that mindset.
Yeah, and in a really, really good point in my life for the first time in a few years, like leading up to that. And so everything came together for the best, Mm-hmm. And but she was going off to another college, and I was being a full-time musician, so we kind of got drawn apart for a little bit, and then she got accepted to CSUMB Monterey Bay, and I was playing in Capitola in Monterey a bunch, commuting from Oakdale 2.5 hours.
Man.
And she just said, oh man, I'm just going to go probably to Turlock, like half hour, 30 minutes away from home. I got accepted to Monterey, and I'm just like, no, we're going, let's get out of here.
Yeah. And
so we moved to the Santa Cruz area about 8 years ago, and been here ever since.
Man.
Yeah.
I should have touched on it earlier, but at what point, to shift gears, I'm so sorry. That's fantastic.
Shift.
But I'm curious about, at what point was the switch over to saying, okay, I'm doing this full time. This is where I'm getting serious. Because that's big deal, big leap to make. And
yeah.
Again, I should have touched on that earlier, but what was that point where it turned around for you?
I had been playing live music in bars, in a band sense, in solo, whatever, live music for people, for money from, I think I was 16 years old, and anything. And I started with my first musical partner, Johnny Schatzwell, and we were in a 2-piece band called Soul Heart. In a matter of like 6 months, we went from playing in his basement to, just barely getting to know each other, and practicing in his basement, to like opening up for Eddie Money and Pat Travers and like big names in 6 months. And just the two of us, and we did all kinds of gigs, and we just kind of got thrown into it. And it was something that I always wanted to do. I always knew that I wanted to be a musician. Even before I knew how to play guitar, I knew that I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to sing. And I think at the time I was working at the Chevy dealership in Oakdale, in the parts department. And I would get off work at 5. I'd go home. I'd actually have the truck packed. I'd leave work at 5, and I'd be at Zelda's on the Capitola beach at around 8:30, and we'd play 9 to 1 in the morning, drive back just hammered, and then go to work the next day.
Run right back.
And I couldn't do that anymore. But when I was 19, before I could even drink legally, it was a good thing. You know, it was super fun, and thank God nothing happened. But you know, just I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to make it what my life was. And then I found myself maybe 3 or 4 years into playing that it had been, I'm working to support my music. And that was wrong to me. I knew it. And it was, I think it was around Christmas time. That's why I think it was in December. Yeah, it was around Christmas time, and I sat my parents down, and I just said, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give myself, you know, I've given myself a couple months. I've saved up some money, so if I fall flat on my face, I'll be able to have something to you know, cushion myself. I'm not going to, like, be homeless, but I lived on my own since I was 17, and so I was renting a place in Oakdale, and really, really cush spot and stuff, and I didn't want anything, like, you know, detrimental to happen. So I put in my 2 weeks at Steve Chevrolet Buick, and I just embarked on. It was kind of around the same time when we moved to Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And so I just fell into literally walking. I would play a show at the Sandbar in Capitola, and I would walk around to all the businesses and say, hey, do you guys have live music? And I would, you know, just say, hey, I want to play for you. How about I play one time for free, or just for free drinks, and then you'll hire me after that. And so I got a every Thursday gig. I had a every Monday gig, and then I played every Friday and Saturday. So then, you know, for the past almost 9 years now, I've had at least four gigs a week. And it wasn't lucrative at first, you know, because I was, you know, investing gear. So now I went from playing on the weekends to having my own vehicle that's big enough to house all this equipment, and be able to have my own stuff to do sound for a couple hundred people, and then to go in to play a show where they have a sound guy. So it was definitely a learning experience for me at the age of like 22, 23.
Yeah.
But I just did it, and I knew that I wanted to do it, and I knew that I didn't want anything to stand in my way. And so I just made it happen. And
there's no doubt in saying, just hearing that you're a hustler. I mean, I can only imagine how terrifying that is to, like, make that leap. I mean,
it was very, very terrifying, and but it was the best thing I ever did. You know, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Is there any points of, like, I can only imagine in that world of creating, for lack of a better word, what do you do if you land in self-doubt? Any doubt? I feel like there's got to be points of time at any point where you're discouraged, like, man, what am I doing? Am I making the right choice? And am I, you know, but what kept you going? What keeps you going even to this day? Because I feel like that's multi-applicable for no matter what field of career you're in,
for
right?
sure.
What is it for you?
I think that alone is enough sometimes. The knowing that you have doubts about, because people that just, you know, if you win the lotto or you get a bunch of money from your family to do whatever you want to do, you never have those doubts. You just are able to do whatever you want, and then you're not even sure really if that's what you want to do. But having those doubts and saying that you know, I mean, I'll just be straight up honest. I mean, we got done with our tour, and we just got off a 3.5 week, 16 show, amazing, incredible European tour, and I come back home and I get into the same realm that I did before. I go from the same shows. You know, you feel like you're up here when you get done with the tour, then you go back to where you were before. And so that was a low point for me just recently, just in the past 2 weeks. I felt like, man, is there a way that I could just tour forever? And you know, what am I not doing enough of? Am I Do I need to reach out, like the first couple questions? Do I need to reach out to more people? Do I need to send more emails? Do I need to be more involved on social media? And then I tell my lead guitarist, he's a little bit older than me, and he's much more wise in those ways. And he just said, the fact that you have those doubts and you're telling yourself and you're being persistent that's the whole name of the game right there, because 90% of people would get discouraged and go find a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. And
then at that point that that's not exactly your dream. You don't care about it enough. You'd rather be comfortable rather than persist and persist and persist. And I'm a big believer on manifesting things.
Yeah.
And, my dad, when I grew up, he would just say, with baseball, I was a big baseball player before I was a musician. And he just said, Barry Bonds didn't get as good as he is by just sitting on the couch. If you talk to him, he probably practiced more than anybody. That's the reason why he's as good as he is. It's not just like sheer talent. And you have to go out and you have to create your own luck. And that's what I always keep in my head that my dad told me when I was young. You got to create your own luck by pounding the pavement, by making yourself available, by playing 323 shows a year. At some point when I'm 50 and I am still saying that, I can maybe renegotiate, is this what I want to do? But right now, I just turned 31, and I've been playing music for 15 years. And, I got a lot of pounding the pavement to do before I can, turn it off. And so to come back to your question, it's just, at the end of all those doubts, I know people, and I probably was once a person that would have those doubts, come off a tour and get real depressed about my situation. And be like, these aren't the gigs that I really want to be playing at this point in my career. But they're actually having, a straight shot in how I'm paying my bills, which is an interesting place that I find myself as well. Because most musicians, even professional musicians that just tour, most of them have another job that they do. Mm-hmm. Most working musicians have a job and they only play on the weekends. And I find myself, it's my dream and my livelihood and what I do to put, bread on the table. Mm-hmm. And so it's a whole different, I'm constantly checking myself with, I want to, you want to have less saturation so your worth is up for places that you play. But when you got to pay rent by it, you can't really do that. So there's a fine line. And so when I get discouraged, to make a short story long and painful, when I get discouraged, I've always been the guy to just make it happen. Mm-hmm. And like the tour, putting that together was so much work. And but it was just, I knew every single step of the way that it was going to be worth it. And I have the same feeling with music. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know it's all going to be worth it. And so when I get discouraged and I have those feelings of self-doubt, and is this what I should be doing? Is this the right path? Should I try another path? You just got to keep persisting, mm-hmm. Or you don't. It's either keep persisting or look back on your life wishing that you have, because we all have probably 10 family members we can name right now that have that one dream, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And if they ever let it go, they'll sit at Thanksgiving and say, oh, well, if I would have stuck to this. And I don't want to be one of those statistics, I
think the thing that's really sticking here with me through it all is you mentioned about your dad saying, got to go make your own luck, got to go find your own luck. And when I just hear that, I think about the fact that it's easy for once you get to that luck, people want to say, it's like, man, you're so lucky. It just seems like it just comes so easy for you. Little do they know. You're talking about the grind you put in 360 something days out of the year you're performing, right? I mean, you did the math.
Yeah.
Just is crazy of just what you got to put into it. And I said it already, just as I'm learning as I go about you here, is you're a hustler.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing, but it definitely is a lot of work, and it's just nothing but rewarding, just ups and downs like everything else. But
how do you keep it from, I guess, for lack of a better word, just I guess bluntly so, is burnout? Because I mean, this is what you love, but it's also your livelihood. And people talk about that's a fine line that gets dangerous sometimes, because you could easily fall out of love with a thing you love because you're just trying so hard to make it work.
Yeah.
And is that the same thing? You think it's that persistence thing, or is there times you have to take yourself and remove yourself from that?
There's definitely, I would say both.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the show. There are certain shows that I just recently had a talk with my wife too. I mean, because she's the best sounding board. It really is. It's just like, having her to, if I'm having a hard day, we go to the card table, and she talks me out of a little gutter, a little rut. It's as simple as that. It's crazy. Sometimes you need people that are not directly in the situation to make you realize what's going on, and but anyway, as far as not getting burnt out, I just recently had to make a mental note. It's almost like two projects almost. Like for instance, we just played 2 festivals this weekend, and those are higher caliber shows where we play all original set, firing on all cylinders. We're there so that if anybody there is a promoter or anybody with huge importance, we're on our A game, and that's what we bring. Regardless of where I play, I give 110% to the show. But there are shows that I play around town that are my money makers for like I call them like my job gigs. Yeah. Where I give 110% always, but the set list is different. I'll do more covers so that I can mentally separate myself from, I'm not playing nothing but my originals that I poured my heart out in order to play, in order to write these and make these come to a song that everybody's hearing. And maybe they're falling on deaf ears because I'm playing at a bar for $600,
Yeah.
That's how I'm dealing with it right now, because the burnout thing is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's something that has gone through my head probably hundreds of times in the last 15 years, as I play more and more and more, and I get more saturated, and I go and I do. I mean, it was just right before our tour, we did a show. We did our regular Monday show in the Capitola Village. We went up to Tahoe, Emerald Bay, went there, played a show, came back that night, got home at 4 a.m. I went down to Carmel Valley, which is about an hour and a half away from my house, played a show, came back, went back down to Carmel Valley, played a show, came back, and then played 3 shows on the weekend. And that was all within a 5-day period. And one day I'll have a tour driver, a tour bus driver, but all these are when I get done setting up my equipment, playing for 3 hours, loading it back up in the van, I'm driving home, and I'm doing all the, I'm doing this behind the wheel and stuff. So the burnout thing is a 110% real thing. And I'm definitely not too proud to say that I have thought about that before. The way that I cope with it, honestly, is the amount of work that I put in, and the amount of, I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to say, I have gig calibers, like I was saying about festival, the festival shows, the ticketed shows, the Tyler Braden, the Jake Owen shows. These are all shows that I get total fulfillment out of. I'm not just an entertainer. I'm an artist, and I'm able to share my music, and I'm able to share my art with people that are captive listeners. And then I have the 2 or 3 days a week during the week that I have to do in order to make ends meet and pay the rent and stuff, that I play, and I'm more background music, if anything else, at really nice wineries for really cool people that are awesome, but they didn't pay to come see the show. The venue's paying me to fill a time slot.
Yeah.
And so mentally, I don't think of it as a degrading show at all.
No,
I love them, and I have some of my biggest contacts and some of my biggest people that have supported me and gotten me to the caliber I am now, like the Chloe LeChance, was at the Sandbar in Capitola, at a bar, and where I'm just set to fill a 3-hour time slot with me or the band or whatever day of the week it is, and but for me mentally, I have to make a difference so that I don't get burnt out. So I'm not doing the same thing every night, and putting it all out on the table, and I'm just more of I'm an entertainer those nights. I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? Like, you want to hear $100 for Tennessee whiskey? Of course I'll play that for you,
Right. Yeah.
And so it makes it more of like, those are my jobs. Those are the gigs I do for money.
Yeah.
And then the ones that are self-fulfillment I could do for free.
Yeah.
So
it totally makes sense. I think when you said the calibers, it totally makes sense, right? Because you got it. It's not that you're holding yourself back, but I think it's definitely crucial, as self-aware as you are, to do that, realizing, being situational to your environment and what shows you are. Because you've been doing this as long as you have. Yeah. So you're like, okay, I got a good handle on this and what I'm doing. So that's neat. I could appreciate that a lot. And again, I what I think about is beyond the musician side of it is how this could apply to a lot of different people. No matter what your background is and what you're doing, I think it's all applies.
Definitely.
You brought up the card table a number of times. Mm-hmm. Is there a song coming out, the card table? I think you should look into that, because you talk about the sentimental side of it. I think you should definitely think about it.
Maybe that's a good idea. I never have thought about that. I mean, it's just been the place where I feel the most comfortable and where I feel the most creative, but I've never thought about writing it about the definite. I'll definitely think about that.
I think that has a lot of meaning there beyond just you and your wife, your childhood, and everything it brings you in your musical career.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a thought. I've heard you reference it a few times.
I'll have to give you a little bit of publishing rights for that.
Okay, sounds good. We'll work the contract out. We'll see what it does. Yeah. So talk about what's the future hold for you. Let's say best case scenario. Where are you looking to go with this? What do you want to do? And I know that sounds so simple, but I know there's a plan, right? There's got to be a plan.
There is a plan. Whether or not the plan sticks to the plan,
sure,
is a whole nother question. Right now, 2023. And I've probably said this every single year, but I 110% mean it every time I say it, and I mean it 100% this time. Is 2023 has been the biggest year for my musical endeavors. We started off on the East Coast, Boston, in March with our Irish band that I go back and I play with. They were our band at our wedding, and amazing band from north Donegal County. They're called the Minor Tones, and they got some type of opportunity because there's a ton of Irish community in Boston, and so they got some type of loophole where they were able to go and do 5 shows during 5 shows in 4 days during St. Patrick's Day week. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have a bass player. Their bass player is real highfalutin, high up in tech, and he wasn't able to make it. And so they called me up, hey, because they probably think that California is just like a couple hours away from New York. They're just like, hey, can you come and fill the spot?
Yeah, just hop on.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course, that'd be awesome. So I went out there, and they of course wanted me to do a handful of my tunes as well, and so we ended up getting headlining festival slots because of this, because people that came out and saw this, there was hundreds of people at each show. It was just insane in Boston, and then we went back in June. After we got done with Nashville, we had 2 or 3 studios in Nashville reach out to me on via social media because of some of the campaigns that I ran for our studio sessions. We did 4 or 5 live in my studio, just not music videos where I'm walking down the beach, with my guitar in my right hand, but the actual performance, kind of like this, I really am into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just as it is, playing in front of a live, nice camera angle, nice sound, plain Jane, so people can see what you do. And so I did that at the beginning of this year, and we got a lot of traction on social media. Two or three studios reached out saying that they wanted us to come give us a huge discounted rate and record in their studio in Nashville. They really liked the original music. And instead of jumping on any one of those, it just got my mind rolling. This is really cool. This is happening. Let's shop around and get the best studio so it actually works out for us. We ended up happening upon the Wood Brothers and the Abbott Brothers producer. He was all about it, and we went there. So when that album releases mid-November of next month, that's going to kind of be the biggest thing that's happened as far as our original material goes, being recorded and produced and released through a Nashville studio with that clout. With two of those bands that's their home base, and they have like their guitars in the room where we were recording and stuff.
Right.
Around, I've been in contact with the producer, and he says that the members will just come in and they'll say, "Oh, what's going on there? That sounds really good." We had one of the members of the Wood Brothers sat in on 4 of our songs, so he just took the songs to the next level. And so I feel like it's going to be something with that. What the producer, what Brooke can do with that Nashville album that we, track mostly live. We're very much a live band, like you were saying earlier before the interview. Some people go into the studio and it's all about the production. It's all about the strings and about the synthesizer and auto-tune, and they make a performance sound just like larger than life. We're just about what you see on the stage is what you're going to hear.
That's so neat. I love that.
Yeah. And so the proof is kind of in the pudding in that realm. And I think there's already been talk about what's going to happen afterwards. I never like to get my hopes up for anything. But what the plan would be is for that record to get into the hands of some producers that want to host us on a mini tour on a label around the country, playing in front of, like Moe's Alley size places, 200 or 300 seat venues where they're paying to come see us, run multiple campaigns, and start off on a small scale and tour the country for 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And I think that's coming beginning of next year.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for you. Yeah. I love the humble mindset. Hey, don't get your hopes up. Don't focus on today. But
for sure.
Promising to hear that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's awesome. Exciting, yeah. That's awesome stuff. So I've been really patient. I just got to get to the point though. But you brought your guitar here.
Yeah.
And I was wondering maybe if you want to play a song or two, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you want me to. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
So I'll let you take a second, get set up.
Yes, sir.
Get going. But yeah.
Can I ask a couple questions while we do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Anyone who has watched the show knows I love to talk, and I've been painfully listening to this wonderful interview. But I've had questions since the start. I had about 100 questions before you got here, Alex, and I have probably 100 more now. Like Tyler said, though, I'm amazed the card table is not a previous song you've been thinking about. One of my favorite country songs is called Mama's Kitchen Table.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you should give it a listen, because I think based on the stories you told in about 3 minutes about it, I think you gather a lot of inspiration from that, and I would love to hear how your creative mind does it.
That's a really, really good idea. I'm not even kidding. It's because it's just like I said earlier, like when people are outside of the main thought process, when they bring something to light is when things make sense. And because I'm sitting at the card table, I would never think to write a song about the card table. But hearing you guys say it, that's a really, really cool thing.
Just I've been listening to your music definitely once or twice a day since that show. I've become such a huge fan. And so your creative process and all your songs, and just I'm more of a lyrics guy than sound, but the way you incorporate sound into your music, I can't wait to hear that if it does become something.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
But then towards the beginning of the show, you said you performed 300 plus shows a year.
Yeah.
What's the recovery process like that? Because you can't go balls to the wall on a tour and then have a couple weeks, months off, because you have to do it pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And if you're performing at that volume, there has to be days, right, where you don't talk.
Yeah. I mean, when I was first starting out for the first 5 or 6 years, the protocol was 3 or 4 hour shows whenever you play. And it's balls to the wall because you're a bar band and you need to make people dance.
Right.
And back then I was an idiot. And I would just pound them, and then your guard gets down and you start to scream on the mic, and the next morning you can't talk. Mm-hmm. It was it's been at least 6 or 7 years now where I realized that, and it's more, this is like an instrument that can't be replaced. Yeah. And so I take care of it. I do vocal warm-ups, like on the way here I did vocal warm-ups just so I can, talk properly. And
given we got you here early too, you've been up early and it's early. Sure, it's not if you sing this early.
And but other than that, it's just taking care of it. It's like those tour shows you're talking about. Most of those are like 60 minutes to 90-minute sets, like Tyler Braden's show. He doesn't go up there and play 3 hours for 3 months out of the year. Mm-hmm. They go up and they play a killer hour and 20-minute set without any breaks with an opener, and that's a 3-hour show, and that's how they're able to do it,
right,
and not scream and not get like crazy. The things you can't really plan for, and they've happened to me on multiple times when there's things happen, is like getting sick or getting bronchitis or something like that. Just being smart and just not letting that come through at the show. But as far as the recoup time, I would say that just being smart about it. There's multiple like thought processes on it. Bonnie Raitt and a bunch of other singers have been singing for years that still have an amazing voice. Think it's a muscle that you have to use it every day rather than use it for 2 weeks and take a week off. It's just about really straining it is when you'll do damage. You'll get nodules or nodes on your vocal cords, and you have that hoarse, raspy sound, mm-hmm, and you can't hit. You don't have any control of your voice. And Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, he has like once every year he goes in and he just gets them cut off. He has to take like 2 weeks off, and he's able to sing for a season. I had no
idea.
And there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
But that only occurs because he's going up there and using his voice for something that it's not naturally able to do. He's screaming and stuff like that. I've been blessed to not have. I go and I get scope down my throat, check out the chords, make sure they're good once a year for the last like 8 years, just to make sure, And I've been blessed. Nothing's wrong. And but recoup process, I would hope that maybe like if I did like a 3 or 4 month tour, that the caliber of show and the pay, I'd be able to come home and take a couple weeks, 3 weeks off, and then be able to go back into that to answer your question. Yeah, so
it's good stuff. Thank you, Jake, for sharing those. People that don't know, Jake's behind the camera. Been on the show a couple times.
I prefer Jamie.
Something like that. So, all right. Well, Alex, floor is yours. I don't know, wherever you want to perform. This is a first on the show. I've never had anyone do this, so I'm excited.
Hey, thanks so much for wanting it, man.
Of course.
Plenty of room across the street. You got a wandering mind, but darling, I hope you find your way back home, wherever you belong. Think of the times we spent fighting those tears, always together, but always together alone, side by side. And you ask me how many times, and you ask me how many times. Well, you tell me lies, you butter me up, you say you don't want all of me to ever come home, not all at once. How can we see the light? How can we hear the cries? How many more people are gonna die? But at least we tried. And you asked me how many times. And you asked me how many times. Well, you always want what you don't have. But darling, don't you ever think about what it is that you need. Who cares anyhow? When this whole bag of bones is all said and done, what will be left but the songs I wrote and what I've done? All that I've done. And you asked me how many times. 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 You asked me how many times. And you asked me how many times.
Damn. Alex, you got me ear to ear over here, man.
Thanks, man.
That
Appreciate
was insane.
Thank you so much.
So how long ago did you write that? When was that one?
I wrote it the day before Chloe LeChance with Jake Owen.
So that's
the
like
second one.
Brand spanking new, practically, it seems, right?
Yeah. We were able, because I think it was the week after that we went to Nashville, and so I had the concept. I didn't have all the words at Jake Owen's, but I just did 2 verses, I think. But we recorded that in the Nashville studio, so that was really cool.
Your vocals are so like Jake. That was unreal. I'm sorry, but I could not believe that.
It's
a little early, you know.
Have you considered more shows in garages? Because the acoustic in here was. I mean, I was blown away by you at Chloe LeChance, all your YouTube videos, but that just echoed everywhere.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That's a good sounding room for sure.
Worked out. I slapped this thing together, so it worked out.
Yeah, good acoustics, cool.
Man. Well. Yeah, do you have another one? Did you want to do one more?
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever you want. Maybe one more before we end out here. Yeah, I would love that.
The most, the newest one.
Hey, what do you got for us?
So I gotta confess on this one. I won't say what artist it is, but there was it was like a country or Americana artist that came out with a new song. And Justina's favorite thing, you know, we're all guilty, or at least me and Justina are guilty of the first, like, once you get the coffee going, before you got to be doing anything important, you know, you do the scrolling thing. If anything,
always got to get the scrolling,
you know, for the first 20, 30 minutes. And then I like to put the phone away, to be honest. But first 20, 30 minutes, I always like to check if I got messages or whatever. And so she was scrolling and she said, "Look at this song." And it went viral. It was just like a viral song, and I listened to it, and I was just thinking, like, dude, this song is just garbage. in the nicest way. I swear to God, I was thinking to myself, man, if I wrote this song, I would just I would never show it to anybody. Mm-hmm. And then I want to thank that artist, who I'm not going to name, for putting that song out and it being so famous, because I went and I wrote this song, and I was just thinking, okay, well, what do I got to do? I got to talk about what clothes somebody's wearing. I got to talk about what they're drinking. I got to say something bad that I did back so people feel bad for me in some way. And then you have a modern day country song.
Spot on. I mean,
what I'm saying?
hit the nail on the head.
You know, like, I'm being serious, and so when I first started to write this, it was a little bit in a
like a diss track.
Yes. it was like, okay, well, all right. I think I even said, all right, give me 10 minutes. I'll write the shittiest country song you ever heard.
I think that's why I'm such a fan of your music, because it's such a refreshing breath. It's a breath of fresh air, because country specifically, like you're saying, they're trying to write hits. Most mainstream artists only care about hits. The chorus has to be catchy, quick little verses, decent bridge, but it's mainly the chorus just repeating itself.
Yeah, for sure. So it gets in your head.
Yeah, it's catchy. It sticks with you. It goes viral. You're writing music.
Yeah,
like down to the chords, the guitar. It's the choruses repeat, but every verse is new. The chorus isn't even the same when you do it.
Yeah,
it's just so refreshing, and I'm in awe of it, because it's so hard to do that and still have catchy songs, and your songs do.
I really appreciate
Drive You Crazy has been in my head.
Oh man, Drive You Crazy is a good one, yeah.
And Don't Look Back, you just did a video of that in the rain with your wife, I think.
Yeah.
That was, it's just, you make songs that aren't catchy.
Oh, thank you so much.
And it's so unique.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And that's, I've been so hard on my writing. I'll have most of the songs, especially in the last 6 or 7 years, all the lyrics are on my phone memos, my notes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll have most songs will have 10 verses, and you only need 4 for a 5-minute song. And so I'll have all the ones that I don't use, and I kind of go and I'm okay, I want this piece because that makes sense for this. And I'm really, really hard and strategic about it, and I don't just go out and play a song willy-nilly. But so this next song is it started off as a real cynical, all right, let me just write this real quick and show you, but then I actually liked where it was going, and then so I made it into, the initial thought was I wanted to write a song that fit into that category, that what we were just talking about. But then I actually thought about what I was writing about, and I'm like, this actually could be good, and then I made it about something.
That's awesome. All right, floor is yours.
I had more fun than I did last year, waiting on tequila to dry my tears. I was waiting for you to say you love me. We were younger than I realized, waiting for life to catch us by surprise. I couldn't tell if I was waiting on you, if you were waiting on me. That's when I saw you for who you really were. Your bell-bottom jeans and a long t-shirt. I could tell if I was meant for you, if you were meant for me. That's what loving means. That's what loving means. Well, thank God you didn't know me when some polyurethane and a Vicodin could send me somewhere I could never be found. And I swear to you, as the day is long, as I live and breathe and I write my songs, I give it all to you as time goes on and on. That's when I saw you for who you really were. Your bell-bottom jeans and your long t-shirt. I couldn't tell if I was meant for you, if you were meant for me. That's what loving means. That's what loving means. And as those years go by without apology, all my life feels incomplete. All the miles beneath my feet, they feel empty. And I thought, wonder what I did back then. How could I lose my muse and my best friend. I'll be damned if I'd make the same mistakes again. That's when I saw you for who you really were. Your bell-bottom jeans and a long t-shirt. I couldn't tell if I was meant for you. Tell if I was meant for you. And that's when I saw you for who you really were. Your bell-bottom jeans and a long t-shirt. I couldn't tell if I was meant for you. Tell if I was meant for you. That's when I saw you for who you really were. Your bell-bottom jeans and your long t-shirt. I couldn't tell if I was meant for you, if you were meant for me. That's what loving means. That's what loving means. That's what loving means. That's what loving means.
Surreal stuff.
Thanks, man.
That one was deep. I love the lyrics behind that
That's
one.
the greatest diss track of all time.
That was damn good for a diss track.
Thank you.
That's insane. That's on the album, right?
No, that's about 2 weeks old. So that's
we just got unreleased.
I just barely I just been playing that out at the shows for the last week or two. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little special. I was already feeling.
I'm
special.
okay that it's not on the album, but it's gonna be released
for
eventually.
Sure.
Okay.
It might be because we started playing at the tail end of the European tour, and so I have a couple tracks that we did a really good job live. So I think I might put it on that one as like a little sneak peek before studio version releases. Yeah.
I hope so. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Jake, is there anything you want to add before?
I'm speechless right now. I'm sorry. Like I said, I had a list of 100 questions before you got here, things I wanted to say. That list just grew as the interview went on. Tyler, you did a great job conducting the interview.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, I was here live, and I can't wait to just watch this back when he uploads it.
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
Like, I was a big fan before you got here. I'm a bigger fan. Probably my last question is: do you treat your job gigs kind of as a way to experiment, or do you just go there kind of on autopilot a little bit, like for lack of better terms? Because I know I'm a big stand-up comedy fan, so I follow them in detail and how they talk about it and all that, and they treat like club gigs, like their hometown club gigs, that's where I'm going to try some new stuff. I'm gonna take a joke that I've been doing a different way.
That's 110% what
does
I
that
do.
keep you refreshed when you're doing those gigs? Like, okay, I'm going to do this to entertain. All right, I'm going to step outside a little bit, see how that goes over.
Yeah, I just said that I'm going to contradict myself here a second, but I don't like to do original songs willy-nilly. What I meant was at those higher caliber gigs, I want to get tight as we can be if I'm playing as a band, or I'll make sure that I have my own lyrics memorized, not just going out there and ad-libbing. But when I do those shows that you're talking about, like more the hometown gigs, it is my time to experiment for sure. I'll do songs like that. There's a couple venues in particular, wineries and breweries, that it's almost like an exercise that I'll do. I'll come up with just like some type of lick that I think sounds good enough to fill a space to the naked ear that they're listening as sounding like a song, and I'll just play that and make some changes that I know that are in the key, and then I will purposefully write a song on the spot every gig. And so I'll just pick a topic and I won't write a song, I'll just sing a song that I'm just coming up with the lyrics like as I go. And then if something sticks, I'll make that the chorus, And sometimes Justina's at the gig, or one of my friends or something, and they'll be like, "What was that song?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. Forever Gone."
Bullshit. That's what it was.
Forever Gone. I'm not gonna know, but yeah. To answer your question, for sure. And that's one of the things that makes it like refreshing, and different, as opposed to the bigger shows being more like self-rewarding, like I know that I'm doing the right thing unconditionally so, but feeling like I'm not spinning my wheels and getting burnt out. Those are the things that on those lower caliber shows, that I love just the same, just in a different way.
Right.
That will be my time to be more creative, or if there's a cover song that I know that I've sang 12 years ago, or something like that, I'll do it, and I'm not worried too much about making a mistake or something, as opposed to it being a larger caliber one. So for sure, that's 110% what happens.
And you said the Sandbar is your most typical gig?
The Sandbar has been my only reoccurring every week show for 8 years.
What nights?
Monday.
It's so difficult, but I'm gonna.
It's very lucky you'll find Jake and I out there.
It's honestly come to be one of my favorites, and that's a gig where we change the caliber of per night. Sometimes the night is just asking for an all original set, and people are just all about it, and it's just like you can hear a pin drop in the back, and it's like people paid $50 to be in the Sandbar. Mm-hmm. Other nights when it's Memorial Day or Labor Day on Monday, we kind of by default get all the big holidays like that because it lands on a Monday, and all the tourists are in town, and there's 120 people in the Sandbar. Awesome. That's like the size of this garage, and they're just like ready to rock, and we'll just give it to them, and
I love that.
So it's really, really cool night, regardless of what day you come on. Monday nights are really, really rad. Yeah.
I'm forever grateful you came on. Like Jake said, I mean, getting to know you, I feel lucky.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You're an awesome guy.
Same here, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I want to make sure people can find you. There's no doubt your Instagram. I know your YouTube. It's all going to be linked below for the folks watching. But is there anywhere else you suggest people can go find you other than those two?
I just updated the link tree, which is like just like a really small. I don't know. I'm trying to keep up with all the stuff now, but no, it's on Instagram.
Okay,
that's probably like where most of my info is. There's the website link. If we got any shows coming up, I'll post it on the bio, like for all the important things that are going on at the moment, and then I'll have the link tree and website. Alex Lucero Music, Alex Lucero Band for Instagram. Same thing for Facebook, and then you can find all the information on alexluceroband.com.
Perfect. Well, we'll have it linked below so the folks will be able to find it. Make sure to get that all there. Is there anything else you want to exiting piece? Anything you want to throw out there before we go?
Thanks so much for having me on here, man. And
thank you.
And he said it, and I'm not just saying that. I've done interviews and podcasts and stuff, and some people make it really hard to navigate where you're going. You made it really, really obvious where we're going to go to, and conducting it. So you did a great job. Thanks for having me, man.
Well, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Love to come back on post big tour or something like that.
That would be great. I think we should do it
anytime. And the biggest thing I think right now that would help, if anybody liked the music that's listening, I think that probably just social media. Share it.
Yeah.
Share it. Share the Spotify with your friends. Just share it.
The motto on those shows: be a friend, tell a friend. So I think the same would go for you. Be a friend, tell a friend. Get it out there.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah,
I'm really
thanks,
appreciative.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, as always, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, all podcast platforms, you could share it with an episode and comment down below what you thought of the episode. Again, Alex was fantastic.
Good and bad. It's okay.
Good and hey. All publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Exactly.
But no, and guys, if you're a local, I know a lot of people that watch the show. Go to the Sandbar. You're going to find Jake and I there. Yeah. So we should go check out Alex. You guys will love it. This is, again, I saw you at Clovis Chance, and I've seen you now in my studio, which is so cool.
Love it, man.
I don't know if it'll beat this, but I'm speechless, as Jake said. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks again, Alex.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.